You're watching CBS7 News at 9 on the CW and live on the CBS7 YouTube channel with Alexandra, Macia, and Tom Tieferteller. You're watching CBS7 News at 9 on the CW and live on the CBS7 YouTube channel with Alexandra, Macia, and Tom Tieferteller.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Alexandra, Macia, and we start tonight tracking crime. This man, 30-year-old Jeremy Berry, is a former jailer. Berry turned himself into the Ector County Sheriff's Office after the Texas Rangers began investigating him for violation of civil rights of a person in custody sexually. When the sexual relationship was discovered in July, Berry was fired from his job. He turned himself in today and then was released on a $150,000 bond. And in the community, the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel needs funds to renovate their iconic downtown Midland hotel. The owner did a presentation to the Midland Development Corporation this week about upgrading the hotel. The hotel owner requested $15 million funds to MDC board members. There was plans to revamp the hotel 3 years ago, but it was delayed because of COVID. About 100 employees were laid off because of the pandemic.
We were getting ready to ramp up, and we had saved money, and we had everything in place to get it going. And then COVID happened. So from 2021, 22, we've been struggling to stay afloat.
The hotel lost $7 to $8 million per year since COVID. DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel received funds from the federal government to keep their business open. And one veteran has become a fixture at the Midland American Legion. 5 days a week, Mike Slapman sells New York-style hot dogs to his fellow veterans. His business, Mikey Dogs, has seen quick success at the Legion and beyond. Before moving to Midland 3 years ago, Mike had never stepped into the culinary world. Mikey Dogs is his third successful venture, following a keto bakery and Tall City Bagels. Mike's cart sells out almost every night at the Legion. He's there on Tuesdays and Thursdays through Saturday from noon until night. He also serves up New York-style bagels and brunch on Sundays, then hot dogs in the evening. Since he opened in April, his hot dogs have been a hit.
And I do an authentic New York hot dog using what they call back east in the push carts is the dirty water. And it has that nickname because it looks like the Hudson River, because it's a beef broth with some chili powder and tomato paste and some seasoning.
You can count on no bean chili dogs and beer-steeped sauerkraut on most days, but Mike also likes to mix it up and serve elote dogs and pizza. He says his repeat customers have turned into friends. You can usually find Mike in the parking lot, on the patio, or inside when the weather is bad. And speaking of weather, it's time to take a look at weather. Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller is here to tell us what we can expect. Tom?
Well, it is a chilly, wet night out there, even though a lot of the rain has slackened off quite a bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at rainfall amounts today. See those up around 1/1500 to 2/10 of an inch across parts of the Permian Basin. 6/10 of an inch down towards the Alpine area. 33/100 in and around Big Lake. Areas of light rain continue to move off to the east, so a little bit of a break right across the Permian Basin, but looking further off to the west, still have some areas of light rain that have yet to move through, and they will overnight tonight as temperatures out there. Well, we are looking at those readings into the mid-40s. It is cold out there with 45 degrees out at the Miller National Air and Spaceport. 45 all over the place down in the mountain areas at the present time, and everybody in between well below 50 this evening as the wind has slackened up a little bit. Still a northeast wind adding to the chill just a little bit. That's gustiest down here towards the Dryden area, and we are going to be expecting a little more of this fall chill in our forecast for your Friday. The weekend, though, a little bit different story that we'll tell you about here in a couple of minutes.
Cadets from Midland ISD's Air Force Junior ROTC program spent the time honoring veterans today. Take a look. These flags were placed at Fairview Cemetery in Midland. Each one is at the grave of a U.S. veteran. The JROTC placed more than 1,000 flags, and it is emotional for many of the students.
A lot of people in their families that they have, a lot of veterans that have been lost in the wars and so on and so forth. So of course, tell them, like, if you need a minute, of course I'll give you that minute. And then I'll just let them sit there and they'll have their moment. After that, then it just is all over the place. But for other people, it is also very sacred in a way that not a lot of people can do this.
Veterans Day is this Saturday. We here at CBS7 want to thank veterans of all wars and their families for their service to the country. We are highlighting a few veterans and organizations in our salute to service. You can watch it this Friday at 6:30 after CBS7 First Alert News, Saturday at 11:30 a.m., Sunday at 10:30 after CBS7 First Alert News, or at 10 a.m. on Sunday on KWWT My 30. And the U.S. carried out an airstrike on a weapons storage facility in eastern Syria yesterday. According to an announcement from the Pentagon, the storage facility was linked to Iranian-backed groups. Two other facilities used by Iranian-backed groups were hit in late October. The airstrikes follow a month of nearly daily attacks by Iranian proxies on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. U.S. officials said Wednesday's attack did not result in casualties or any damage to infrastructure. An increase in attacks on U.S. forces in the Middle East has been expected in the wake of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. And the top U.S. accident investigator says the nation's aviation safety system is under stress. This as close calls between planes at airports have surged over the last year. Here's more from CBS's Bradley Blackburn.
The head of the National Transportation Safety Board told the Senate panel that even though U.S. airspace is the safest in the world, there were 23 serious close calls at airports in the 2023 fiscal year, up from 16 the year before and 11 from a decade ago.
These incidents must serve as a wake-up call before something more catastrophic occurs.
The NTSB is currently investigating 7 serious runway incursions. One was captured in this photo from a JetBlue cockpit in February. As the plane attempted to land at Boston Logan Airport, a small plane was directly in its path. That same month in Austin, Texas, a FedEx pilot had to abort a cleared landing to avoid hitting a Southwest plane.
Southwest abort. FedEx is on the go.
These events put more than 1,300 lives at risk.
Thursday on Capitol Hill, the NTSB, the Federal Aviation Administration, and unions for pilots and air traffic controllers pressed Congress for money to upgrade technology and hire more staff. The National Air Traffic Controller Association says there are 2,300 fewer air traffic controllers working than there should be. Staffing shortages have meant mandatory 6-day work weeks, leading to exhaustion.
Air traffic control is already a highly stressful profession.
There's also concern about a looming government shutdown
that would force the FAA to suspend hiring, close its training academy, delay the pipeline of new controllers.
And that pipeline faces another challenge. The head of the FAA testified it can't increase the number of air traffic control students because there aren't enough qualified teachers. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The FAA has conducted 90 runway safety meetings at airports nationwide and last week announced it will hold 16 additional meetings this year. And according to the White House, Israel has agreed to daily 4-hour pauses in airstrikes to allow civilians to flee northern Gaza. So-called tactical pauses were already underway and about 80,000 people were able to escape from the war zone today. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry has more from Washington.
Heavy battles raged in Gaza. This Israeli military footage shows soldiers walking into a building they say is a Hamas weapons manufacturing site. With the Gaza crisis growing, the White House says Israel has agreed to put in place 4-hour pauses in the fighting each day. President Biden indicated he asked Israel's prime minister for longer breaks.
Did you ask him to pause for 3 days to get the hostages out for that
Yes.
length of time?
I've asked for even a longer pause for some of them.
Israeli authorities say since the beginning of the war, some 700 supply trucks have entered the Palestinian enclave. But observers say that's not nearly enough.
We are in war. We didn't pick up this war. Hamas chose to open this war.
Amid anti-war protests around the U.S., a crowd gathered outside the State Department in Washington. In Tel Aviv, Israelis took to the streets over the plight of hostages in Gaza.
They've been in captivity for 34 days, and no humanitarian organization has identified them, has reached out to them, has confirmed that they're alive.
The owner of the house is missing. The issue is that the fire here was so intense that at this temperature, even bones disintegrate.
Archaeological investigators are sifting through the carnage to identify victims' remains at this devastated kibbutz in southern Israel. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
CBS News can confirm that talks are progressing towards a deal that would free between 12 and 15 hostages in exchange for a 2 or 3 day humanitarian pause. CIA Director William Burns and the Mossad Director are taking part in those discussions in Qatar. And now for a look at today's top headlines, shown here in real time with real viewers on CBS7.com. See all of these stories and more by downloading our app or visiting our website at CBS7.com. And still ahead, it's being hailed as a remarkable medical breakthrough. We'll tell you about the first ever human eye transplant up next. And it's that time of year again, time for Tom's Coats. As the temperature drops, many West Texans are struggling to stay warm. That's why Chief Meteorologist Tom Teeper is hosting a coat drive. CBS7 is looking for gently used or new jackets or sweaters for the drive. You can donate jackets and coats at the locations listed on your screen. It's being hailed as a remarkable medical breakthrough. In May, a team of surgeons performed the first ever human eye transplant. It was part of a very complicated face transplant after the patient lost most of his face in a work-related accident. CBS News chief medical correspondent Dr. John LaPook is a professor of medicine at NYU Langone Health, where the transplant took place. He has a story.
Aaron James has always been committed to his family, committed to his country, and committed to his career, helping to maintain America's power grid. But while doing that job on June 10, 2021, he accidentally touched a 7,200-volt power line. His wife, Megan, will never forget the call she got from his boss.
Aaron's been in an accident. I said, "Is he okay?" And he said, "It's pretty serious."
Doctors did all they could to save her husband of 20 years. His left arm had to be amputated above the elbow. He also lost his left eye.
And when you saw his face unbandaged for the first time?
I just took a deep breath and I said, all right, this is what we're dealing with.
Let's go 3. Good. All right.
The Arkansas native also lost his nose and front teeth, so he agreed to undergo a partial face transplant, including the world's first transplant of a donor's eye.
So then when you suggested doing an eye transplant and you spoke to ophthalmologists or neurologists or your colleagues, what did they say?
It's not possible. It's not going to work.
Dr. Eddie Rodriguez and his team at NYU Langone Health spent 21 hours transferring the donor's face, eye socket, and the eye itself to James. A huge challenge was providing blood flow to the transplanted eye.
It was an exhilarating moment to just see that blood supply coming to the retina.
It's been just over 5 months since the eye and face transplant.
You have some trouble speaking still, right? Does it seem to be getting better?
Yes, it is getting better until I can get some feeling in my lips and get my jaw to open more and get some teeth.
You also have a lot of things that are working a lot better than before.
Yes, everything. It just blows my mind.
A huge question remained. Would light shined into the transplanted eye be recognized by the part of his brain that processes vision? To find out, James has had 2 functional MRIs.
And we saw a response back there. Point to where you feel it.
Dr. Vedahi Dadanya is his eye specialist.
Is it possible that the brain could rewire itself in a different way to be able to actually see an image?
I never say never.
Whether or not he will ever see out of his new eye, Aaron James is committed once again, this time to advancing medical science.
If me doing it first kickstarts it, I'm all for it.
Dr. John LaPook, CBS News, New York.
The donor was a young man in his 30s who not only gave Aaron James a chance at a more normal life, but helped 3 other people by donating his kidneys, liver, and pancreas.
Back in West Texas, a rainy night out there, starting to dry out a little bit, but things are cold. We'll talk about how long this weather pattern is going to last up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, as we take a look at the satellite radar view, starting to see a lot of the areas of rain thin out a little bit. Now, we still are going to have some patches of light to occasionally moderate rain overnight tonight, but because we still have that disturbance kicking across and moving off to the north and northeast, but still some areas of light rain here across portions of the western Permian Basin into the Trans-Pecos, where temperatures are chilly. It's fireplace weather out there with temperatures in the mid to upper 40s across most locations. The area is a light rain. So again, good night to stay in if you can. The roads are soaked, so if you are traveling, slow down a little bit. As we've seen upwards of 0.2 of an inch of rain across parts of the Permian Basin, 0.6 of an inch in Alpine, 36 100ths in Marfa, and 33 100ths in the Big Lake area. Those are the quote-unquote hot spots for rain. But look at Big Spring, though. This evening, we've added to things quite a bit. Now at 34 100ths for the day as that disturbance again continues to move off to the north and northeast. A little ridge of high pressure on the back side of that. It's going to make for some nicer conditions into the weekend, but the chilly air kind of hanging around here for the next couple of days. We're not only dealing with the rain, East and South Texas also dealing with the showers, even a few thunderstorms on the leading edge of that front. That's now starting to make its way down into South Central Texas with the chilly conditions behind it moving across. As you can see, temperatures today, quite a contrast. As 72 occurred right after midnight, then temperatures dropped off quite a bit for most of the day, but still plenty of 70s, 80s ahead of the front there across Southeast and South Texas. Again, patches of light rain, drizzle. It may turn into some steady rain towards the morning hours here across parts of the Permian Basin. But for the most part, though, things are going to start to dry out a little bit, but stay chilly, though, because the clouds are going to hang around all the way through Saturday. Now, here's what we're looking at for the rest of tonight. Again, we're going to keep some rain in the forecast. Temperatures mid-40s out there across the area to lower 40s overnight tonight. Again, we should see some breaks in the clouds, I think, tomorrow afternoon. Still hanging around 50. And starting to thin out a little bit cloud-wise later on the Veterans Day weekend. Veterans Day on Saturday, I think, will be okay with a high of 59 degrees. 63 on Sunday, but another passing disturbance could put some more showers in our forecast coming up on Monday, and then a mild streak into next week.
Still ahead, a new weight loss drug hits the market and mortgage rates are down. We'll have that and more up next in your consumer news. The FDA has approved a new drug to help Americans lose weight, and it could hit the market later this year. The drug, called Zepbound, is a new formula of the popular diabetes treatment, Mounjaro. Doctors say it works by slowing down digestion by having the brain think the stomach is full, thereby reducing appetite.
Patients using this medication saw weight loss, depending on if you had diabetes or not, anywhere from 16 to 22%. And so they applied for FDA approval, and we have Zepbound.
Common side effects include nausea, stomach pain, and indigestion. Drug maker Eli Lilly says a 6-week supply of the drug will cost over $1,000. Encouraging news for potential home buyers. Mortgage rates tumbled this week in the biggest one-week drop since last November. It's the second week that rates have decreased after rising for 7 consecutive weeks. According to data from Freddie Mac released Thursday, the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage fell to an average of 7.5% in the week ending November 9th. A year ago, the average 30-year fixed rate reached 7.08%, its highest level in 2022. The following week, rates dropped. And Walmart says it is making changes at its U.S. stores to create a calmer experience for neurodiverse individuals with sensory disabilities. Starting on Friday, the retail giant will have sensory-friendly hours from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. 7 days a week. During that time, stores will lower the store lights, turn off the radio, and set in-store TV walls to a static image. These measures are meant to provide a less stimulating environment. Walmart said it learned about the benefits of those efforts during a pilot test for the back-to-school shopping period. Today is National Fried Chicken Sandwich Day. It's believed the tasty holiday started in the 1930s. Then in 2019, the fried chicken sandwich gained new popularity when Popeyes came out with its version. Since then, it seems everyone has gotten into the action. Most people like their fried chicken sandwich pure without any toppings, but you can add whatever you want to it. Tom, what's your favorite way to?
The plain Chick-fil-A sandwich with pickles.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Been eating that since the 70s.
I love it, and I love
stuff.
a good pickle. All right, well, thanks for watching CBS 7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW.